Hey everyone, it's Orly and I have Dottie here, and we are back with another Seeds of Success. And today's show title is Keeping Things Clean. And, sometimes these titles are a little hard to understand or, where are they going with this title? But Keeping Things Clean is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Going to talk about keeping your centers clean, keeping your business clean, whatever the business may be. So we have some few things to go over. I know Dottie was big on, she used to run a white test in her centers, and you know, I'm not gonna make it sound bad, Dottie, but you're a little picky when it comes to cleaning, right?
I am very picky when it comes to cleaning. And before we ever get started, I wanna do a shout out to all those bowling centers that did such a fantastic job of letting their customers know how clean they were and what procedures they were going through to keep things clean during COVID and right after COVID. And I want to say congratulations, because you did a fantastic job of letting people know that your facility is nice and clean and safe. But don't stop, right?
Yeah.
Keep it up. Keep up with the cleaning. And yes, I am very particular when it comes to keeping a nice, clean facility. And I would, some people would say I would kind of go overboard, but I want the guests to feel when they come in that they can look around and I'm not going to cringe when I look, see them looking up at the monitors knowing, oh gosh, there's an inch of dust on those monitors. I hope they don't see that. So yes, I am very picky, and I have been known to, go in and run my finger. And if there's dust on it, that needs cleaning, right?
Right. And I would think back to when COVID, was really a little wild and all the cleaning was going on, more clean than usual. And it makes me think, were we as people not very clean, or did we just go extra clean when COVID came? Because I remember, and I know this might sound gross, I remember sometimes, you're in a hurry, you're walking to the grocery store, you're eating food, pushing your shopping cart. But nowadays, some people, you're just kind of like, what was I thinking, touching these dirty carts and then touching my food so I don't
Yeah.
know if we were not clean enough people before, or if we just kind of went and had to get cleaner, or it just brought us to what we should all be. But definitely, yeah, it's definitely a time of not letting our guard down when it comes to cleaning, because everybody did extra cleaning during those times. And I think, like you mentioned, it's something that we don't want to stop doing. And when it comes to cleaning, though, this could be, your everyday things that you keep clean, but there's a lot of things that you don't clean every day that you do want to make sure are getting cleaned. For instance, outside, your trash cans out front, if you have a trash can out front, those not just changing a trash bag. Somebody might throw a beer can in there or a
Yes.
bottle, and that beer spills in there, and with the heat, and it gets really nasty. So just changing your simple trash bag is sometimes not enough. And yeah, and that could lead to, Dottie, I know you're big on the parking lot itself.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, Orly, that's really when you turn into a parking lot, that's where the experience begins. And if you go into a parking lot that has trash all over it, you immediately think, oh my goodness, especially if you've never been to this facility before, you think, oh my gosh, if the parking lot looks like this, I can only imagine what the inside looks like. So make sure that you're aware that cleanliness starts, from the parking lot. So, assign somebody to go out there, or as you're walking in from your car on your way into work, if you see something laying in the parking lot, pick it up, throw it in the trash can. And I want to address, you were talking about trash cans and doing a little bit more than cleaning the bag. That is definitely something that should be wiped down all the time. But also, when you were talking about, beer may have spilled and stuff like that, cleanliness also needs to pass the smell test, right? So if
Yeah.
you buy a trash can and it smells bad, that means it needs cleaning, it needs attention. So take it outside, wash it down, do what you need to do. But definitely make sure that you are not turning a customer away by sending out the wrong message that something is dirty. And I want to take it, we went in the parking lot, so but I also want to take it in the restroom, because the same thing goes for keeping your restrooms clean too, right? Not everybody visits your restrooms, but it is a huge turnoff if you go into a restroom and there's stuff all over the floor. Maybe the toilet needs service. The mirror has, water splashed all over it. You can't even see yourself in the mirror. Those send out really bad messages to your customers.
Yeah, and something simple is even like the light switch. I've been to places where Yeah, the bathroom's clean, the toilet's clean, excuse me, the sinks are clean, but the light switch is really like grimy, and like the walls, you could see old dirt, dust on the walls. So, it definitely, people aren't really touching your walls, but still you want to have that clean, and you want to, and just to go back real quick, I'm sorry, but on the outside of your parking lot, you don't want to get them to turn away before they go in. I know people say, don't judge a book by its cover, but if your place looks a little sketchy from outside and they're stepping over trash to get indoors, like they might not quite make it indoors. They might jump right back in their car and turn away. So
That's right. And speaking of that, I have a lot of pet peeves. But one of my pet peeves is when you're walking into a center, if there's a glass door, that door ought to be sparkling. It should not have handprints and stuff all over. And certainly if you have had something posted on your front door and you take it down, don't leave the tape behind.
yeah.
It's a pet peeve. Scratch that tape off, get a razor blade, do something, but make sure that your entrance is warm and welcoming and clean.
Yeah, and sometimes your staff might think they know what needs to be cleaned, but it's okay to make a list. Yeah, you're going to get some staff members like, oh no, we have a list to go over. But do your everyday list, your everyday cleaning, everyday cleaning list, and then do maybe like a deep cleaning one that they do every few days, because there's things that you don't think of sometimes, whether it's the fire extinguishers or the white box that the fire extinguisher goes inside of, or top of the arcade games, they might wipe the handles down, but if the top is coated with dirt, that's a big thing. And let them know your expectations, because I've had staff before that I give them this long list that I've made. I took hours to make, and they complete it in 5 minutes, which isn't usually possible. So they might, wipe this down, wipe that down, but give them a little detail and let them know what your expectations are. And you don't want to have to follow them around and check everything, but let them know, hey, if you're not quite getting this list cleaned, or done, we're gonna have to kind of follow up and check up on that. So that's okay to do.
Yeah, and the other thing, Orly, it's not just for the front part of your building, right? It's not, making sure that your floor is not got marks on it or your carpet got spots on it and, all of the obvious things, but it's also for your equipment. Make sure that your consoles are clean and not sticky, and, your pit area, the flooring is not got something spilled on it and is sticky. Make sure your monitors, I referenced that earlier, another one of my pet peeves, and y'all are going to find out real soon. I have a lot of pet peeves. I have very high expectations in a bowling center, but make sure that your monitors don't have, a layer of dust on them that when you're looking at them, it looks foggy because there's so much dust on them. And your gutters, do you have somebody that goes down and cleans your gutters?
Yeah, and I've worked with Dottie enough to kind of know, I think, things about her. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and think, well, not quite on a limb, but I have a feeling that shoes, is that a big deal?
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's a huge deal, actually. So shoes should be, first of all, we all know shoes are a great source of revenue for a bowling center. And so we need to give them their attention. They're due that, right? But there's no excuse for keeping dirty rental shoes. You have a counter person, you have, lane attendants or porters that are not constantly moving. So they have time to keep those shoes nice and clean. So my rule of thumb is if Dottie won't put her foot in it, neither should a customer.
Yeah, and
So
you might think that customers don't pay attention to, like, they're just shoes. But I've noticed when we opened, we were a new center, so everything was brand new, and that was commented so much, like, oh wow, your shoes are so nice, because they were used to going to these centers with these like dirty and old shoes.
right.
So yeah, that definitely is a huge thing.
And it's super easy to clean the outside of the shoe. Make sure, take a steel brush, make sure the bottom has not got anything on it, stepped on popcorn and there's a flat kernel of popcorn on the bottom of it. Make sure that those are nice and clean. And the other thing that drives me crazy is getting a pair of rental shoes and the laces have knots in them and you can't even tie your shoe on. Come on. Let's make sure that those knots are out. I know that's a very boring job, is to go in and take the knots out of these, little children's shoes that the kids just pulled off without even, untying them. But nonetheless, the next customer deserves to have those shoes nice and clean. And if they're beyond repair and they don't look nice when you clean them, then you know what? It's time for new ones.
I was just gonna say that. Let's be honest, they're not that expensive. You know, if you have a shoe that's falling apart, order some new ones. Like it's not that expensive. I think that's definitely something. Instead of having like the bottom flapping while somebody's walking in it, order a couple of, you know, you don't have to order all new shoes, but if you just have a few pairs, hey, I think we need to order a few more of this size because these are falling apart. I think it's definitely something to look into.
Yes, for sure. And same thing goes for house balls. Make sure that the balls are clean and you're taking the time to wipe those down as you're putting them away. So that might be something that you put on on your make ready checklist when a customer leaves a lane, is when those balls are put back on the racks, that you're having your porters or your lane attendants wipe those balls down before putting them back. So, cleanliness comes in many, many forms. And as I said, making sure that you keep your inside of your center, the outside of your centers, I guarantee you that the customer will notice. And especially like your restaurant area, make sure that whole area, you're serving food, you want to make sure that you are keeping it nice and clean. And even the stuff that's not visible, keep it nice and clean. Just make that a common practice.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that you could do that don't take extra time to really clean. For instance, a big one for me is drink trays and food trays, like the one that you carry out multiple baskets on. Those, when you walk back to the counter, the staff member could wipe them down before even stacking it back. And that takes, even if you have somebody waiting at the front counter, you could wipe that down within a second, put it back on its, because nobody wants their food brought on a tray with old food on it. So there's a lot of things that people can do as they're going along that don't take extra time really. So definitely let them know that, so that they are aware of that and they, use those best practices.
Yeah, and even self-serve things. So if you've got a vending machine in your facility, or if you are, if you have a kiosk in your center and people are going to your kiosk, make sure that you're looking at that on a routine basis and making sure that somebody hasn't stuck bubble gum to the the outside or whatever. It's those little bitty things. When you walk into your center in the mornings, you should be walking in with a fresh set of eyes and looking around and seeing what you're seeing. Put yourself in the customer's shoes and look and see, is everything clean? And when you were talking about my white glove test, yes, I did that. And my staff used to say, your head spins 360 degrees. Well, you know what? I kind of agree with that at times, but you really do. You have to look up, you have to look down, and you have to look all around at what is my customer seeing and what is the customer going to perceive as not up to standards. And so, yeah, I would say definitely look. And even when you're doing that, you can also see other things that need to be done maintenance wise. Do you have light bulbs that are out, or, do your light fixtures need cleaning? Do they have, cobwebs in them that when somebody looks up at the burned out light bulb, they're seeing, a spider web up there that needs to be removed?
Yeah, I think when it comes to cleaning, there's a ton of things that we could talk about, and as you know, Dottie and myself could talk for hours about anything. But I definitely think we covered some basics. And, if you ever do have more questions, on our link tree, we have all the available emails to myself and Dottie. If you ever have any questions, you never know, Dottie might have a white test checklist that she could send you. So definitely reach out if anyone has questions or even ideas for more shows. We're always willing to listen. And yeah.
Yes. And Orly, I just want to leave our listeners today with a thought. Cleaning does not take a lot of time, nor does it take a lot of resources to have somebody cleaning, because we know there's always extra time, right? If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. I know everybody's heard that, right? Well, there's truth in that. But just remember the value of someone coming into your center and seeing a nice, clean center and them sharing that with other people. That word of mouth will do wonders for your center. So yeah, make sure you're paying attention to the cleanliness of your center. And as I said, the white glove test, there's a lot to be said for doing that. And if I could figure out how to do the smellogram, that would be good too. I would go on and check them out from the smell test, but that's not available yet. So
Yeah. So thanks for joining today. And like we said, keeping things clean was today's title, and definitely make sure to keep it clean in your center. And we will talk to you guys next time.
see you later, guys. Thanks for joining us.